Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode where we're going to talk about how you can export a Microsoft list to CSV, how to share apps with external users in Microsoft Teams meetings and chats, and how to launch your portal, your SharePoint portal, to your users. Let's roll it. Yes, sir.
What an exciting list of updates, Daniel. I know that there's more, but it's going to be an interesting week. Before we get into them, though, Daniel, I just want to encourage people who are watching us, if this is the first time you've tuned in, that if you subscribe to this channel, then you'll be able to hear of us each week as we try and cover off some of these messages. It's a good resource, you would say, to tune in and at least get some opinions and some thoughts across not just Daniel and I, but the community as well, in terms of what is landing in Microsoft 365 and how you should prepare for it.
I would agree. It's not just us. We have some great contributors that are part of chat and those that that collaborate with us. And so love hearing everyone's opinions and thoughts on how they do keep up with change. And also follow us on Twitter. We'd love to have you follow us on Twitter, and we have some plans for our Twitter account and some exciting plans, and we need some more followers to make those plans happen. So
that was mysterious.
Well, I'm trying to make it a little mysterious, for those people that join us on Twitter, and so join us.
Okay.
It's 365MCS. Simple. Let's jump into this, shall we? This is export list to CSV MC254423. Now, when we're talking about lists, this is specifically, we're really talking about Microsoft list, but SharePoint list. Okay. So list we have, this actually has already rolled out, and it rolled out in the last couple of weeks or so. And it's fully available, and Microsoft does apologize for rolling it out and not telling you about it at all. So this is when you're on a Windows machine and you can do this on Mac to export to CSV, but on Windows machine, you go to export to Excel button, and you can then select CSV. So it's just export. You can do export workbook or then export CSV. And this is great because we're able to go one way, right? Import a CSV. Now we can export CSV. We've done this before. We've been able to do this, being able to export. You could export it to Excel and save it as CSV, for instance. But sometimes you want a CSV. So that's something.
Separated value.
Separated value. That's what it is. Golly. So use this functionality. It's already there. Unfortunately, when the feature rolled out, they added it to document libraries as well as lists. And, it kind of doesn't work with document libraries. So they're going to roll that back, that part of it anyway, and leave it in lists. What should you do? Tell people about it. But probably, if they're looking to do some exporting with their list, they probably already know about it, right? Because it's right there under export. So cool functionality, real simple. And I know that I use it and will continue to use it in various scenarios where I'm trying to manipulate my data. So, yeah. Yippee.
Good.
That's it.
Daniel,
Yes.
this message, look, it's one of those titles where you wish there was a bit more to suggest what it's about.
Yes.
Apps in external scenarios, MC254426. Apps in external scenarios. In external scenarios, such as a meeting or a chat. So this is specific to Microsoft Teams. And the funny thing is, as you read into the message, it also starts to talk about external chats and meetings with Skype for Business, which is on its way out. So let's just bring it down to the external experience. This is when we have a chat with a contact from outside of our organization, or we've invited them to a meeting. They may be guests within our environment, maybe not. Maybe they're just coming along and joining a meeting, and we have chat, we're talking away. Within Teams, we can go one step further. We can set up our virtual meeting space and add apps. And this has been quite useful for organizations that want to have a meeting centered around, let's say, a Kanban board, or they want to bring in some other information and add it to a tab in the meeting. And up until now, you have not been able to share this information or these tabs with external people attending these meetings or participating in the chats. Now you can. And that's going to be a good thing, because we do have meetings with people. We want to be able to make it a bit more informative. We want to bring in the information within this meeting space. And maybe we don't necessarily want to invite them in to be a team member within our environment. So this is a good functionality to see come and become available. We don't have too much information or examples around the types of apps, but I do believe that it's all part of the move towards having a meeting optimized apps and allowing our guests within these meetings to participate in this in a more fuller sense. One we talked about last week, remember, was Whiteboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and your first kind of scenario about the Kanban, dead on, is project meetings, where you're working with external people and you're needing to share your plan, and getting that part of the meeting, and as well as any other types of resources that need to be part of that. I 100% that is probably how I will use this most, and I would venture to guess a lot more people, or a lot of other people, will be using it very similarly to where it's around projects or around those meetings where you're doing external people. So yeah.
Look, this message though, I would want a bit more definition around that, to say whether Planner is one of those apps that is included, because we know today it's not a clear experience.
I agree, and but there is plans for Planner, and so I think that's setting the groundwork for stuff like that, and chat, right, too. So being able to, it's not just a meeting; it's also in the chat.
Yeah, well, that's the strength of a Teams meeting, that you can have that chat before, during, and after, and encouraging that life cycle, particularly in recurring meeting series where the conversation is going to continue. So this is rolling out. Begin the rollout in early June. It's going to be a tenant level rollout, so it's not something that requires necessarily users to have specific access. It's going to be available to the whole tenant. And so, Daniel, tell us about this headline of ours.
We're going to launch. We're going to be the SpaceX of Microsoft 365. We're going to launch. Launch your portal using the SharePoint Portal launch scheduler. See, I told you we're going to be launching.
Launching?
Yeah, we launched.
MC
254891. For those on the podcast, Daryl did his, impression of us moving. Anyway, so this is all about when you are rolling out a new portal, and portal, I think, has a different definition for some. It really depends on, I guess, your experience with portals and what that means. When I say portal, when I think about portal, I'm thinking it's your a part of or your main intranet. So it's a place where people go to get information and to take some action. So this is a place they come for news. This is a place they come for links off to various resources. This is whether that's internal on that site or external of that site, whether it's on another site or external, on some other internet website. That is a portal to me. It's a place for people to come to interact with information, get information and interact with it. So HR portal would be, I'm coming to get my benefits and see the handbook, the employee handbook, and find out some news about, the open enrollment process, et cetera. So
what about ones that are maybe pinned to a certain event or a product that's been launched?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're a product company and you're going to launch a new product, having a product portal that gives you all the, details about marketing, about specs, about support, with your beta testers, and how to the spec sheets of helping, those that will be answering calls to troubleshoot issues. I mean, that's a portal where you have a bunch of resources together to accomplish a task. So this announcement is all about SharePoint giving you the capability to say, I want to schedule a launch in phases, basically. So this will be rolling out late May for targeted release, and expected to be completed in targeted release by mid-June, and then standard release mid-June through mid-July. We'll see if they meet that time frame. And that's not a knock on SharePoint at all. It's just we're seeing a lot of stuff not exactly hitting dates here recently, and I hope that they do. So this is going to be able to this is the tricky part. And I think you do need to, for those that are site owners and will be managing a new site, if they publish the homepage of a new site, and it's the first 3 versions of that new, when you say you publish the first version, you're like, edit, republish. So the first 3 versions, they're going to get a prompt. SharePoint's going to prompt them and say, hey, do you want to launch this? I don't think 3 is the right number. In fact, I feel like don't talk to me until at least 4 or 5. I don't know. It's my experience when I'm creating a site. It's not going to be ready my first edit. It's not going to be ready my second edit. It's going to be 4 or 5 because I'm, I might sit down and work on it for a while. But anyway, so it's important to know that those first 3 times you hit that button, there is going to be a pop-up that's going to say, hey, do you want to do this? So you can schedule, if you say yes, then you will have a prompt. You'll be able to schedule the launch. And really the way this works is you would launch it initially, especially if it's a large portal. If it's your new intranet for your entire organization, or it's a new HR portal or a new product portal like Daryl was mentioning, then and you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of users, then you're going to want to launch this to a small group, get some feedback. Hey, is this good? What would you change? And then make those changes, and then roll out to another group, maybe a larger group. How's this page performance going? We have the page performance checker, so we can see are we okay? Did we add some external stuff that's maybe slowing it down? So keeping an eye on that as we gradually release to more and more users. So that's what this is all about. Okay. And this is really a best practice, doing it that way. There's some notes here. You're able to do this via PowerShell, but now we have it in the UI. So now we're going to get it. It's going to prompt us. And the PowerShell will still work. So just let you know. And to go ahead and schedule, if you go past those 3 prompts, right? Just like I will for everyone, then you can navigate. You can go to the settings pane, and from the homepage, select schedule site launch, and that'll be available to you. It does need to be a SharePoint communication site, and you will need site owner permissions or higher. And what it means by or higher, that's site collection administrator, would be higher too. So if you're launching a portal, I would highly suggest you go through this process, because you do want to get feedback. In fact, we do this informally now. For when I'm rolling out an intranet for any of my clients, we do this informally now, where we create the site, the team members I'm working with, they get it the way they want it to look like. And I'm going to pull in some people to take a look and give some feedback. Every time, this is the way it works. And then we make some tweaks, and then we release it to a certain other group. Okay, here it is, final product, wink, wink, meaning if there is something that needs to be changed, we can still do that. And then it's released to the organization generally. So this gives us the out of the box functionality to do that, to manage that process with the technology rather than just managing it with permissions. That's the way we've been doing it before. What do you think, Daryl? Is this kind of in line with what you see with launching portals, whether that's a product or intranet or so forth?
I have to admit that probably in New Zealand, where the audiences are a little smaller, that we don't usually see that kind of load testing so much needed, except when you are adding, like you say, apps or external sources. I think, this is going to be definitely useful. I'm interested to know, like, as I look into the healthy kind of measurement too, how is it determining that, and what sort of factors it's looking for. I think you said page load time is one, and what else is in there that determines whether it's healthy or not?
Well, I think that it is page load time is one of the criteria, but it's also indicative of other issues, right? And they introduced the page healthiness, quote unquote, and there's a link in the announcement here, the page diagnostics for SharePoint tool. That'll give you all the information you want about that tool and how that's measuring the performance. But that is like I said, it's one factor, but it's an indication that there's other things going on. And it'll give you some insights into, are you making too many calls externally? Are you loading from a CDN that's slow, or not loading from a CDN at all? Things like that. So that's where you're going to get some real benefits. Again, you're right. If you have sub 1,000 users, and it's really out of the box kind of functionality, you're probably not going to see any issues with performance. But if you're rolling this out with a lot of stuff going on the page and to a lot of users, then you may see some. And you don't want it to be you launch the thing and the first impression is everybody loads it at once and they can't load it, or it takes 5 seconds to load. No one wants that. So
yeah, for sure.
All right. So what about Outlook, Daryl? What about dictating emails? Is that something you do?
You know what? I do. I dictate all sorts of text into a mobile, because this is all about dictating on the iPhone and the iPad. But in terms of using the dictation function or feature within some of the Office apps, not so much. But maybe I will after looking at this. This is MC254892. And it is about introducing the dictation feature into the mobile experience. Today, we can click a button, even within Word Online, Word on the desktop as well, so various different Office apps, and dictate and talk out our content. And it wasn't really until today when I took a closer look at some of the commands that are available in dictation. I thought, wow, this is actually quite an impressive list of what you can express and tell the dictation feature to use to create content on the page for you. So this is going to be interesting to see it working within Outlook on the iPhone and the iPad. And, my first thought, as I said earlier, was, well, why would I use this? I can tap a little microphone on my keyboard on the iPhone, and Apple takes care of it. What more is this going to offer over and above? What do you think it will offer more of, Daniel?
Well, I think that the control is what is the benefit you're going to get above just the regular dictate button that, Apple provides on the iPhone and iPad, since that's what we're talking about. That's going to be the real benefit, right?
Yeah, and there's something that you also benefit from using this over and above the Apple feature or the Android feature once it arrives, is it's part of the connected experience suite of ways that Office connects in. Sorry, I didn't explain that very well. When you are using the Office applications, you're uploading documents, you're connecting with people, it's connected to the cloud services, and it will make suggestions based on your content and all of those sorts of factors. So what you should end up with is, as you're dictating, you should get suggestions and you should get some greater accuracy based on that content. And I sort of cast my mind back to tools like Dragon Natural Speaking and other third-party tools that originally had this sort of thing. You could get them to scan the documents that you might have in a certain folder, and it would build up a repository of common words that you use, and it would give greater accuracy. And I believe this is one of the benefits of using this as a connected feature to the Office experience, to the Microsoft 365 experience, that you should see greater accuracy in your dictation. I think it's starting out with English US as usual, because that's where the development is to start with. I don't know the rate at which they'll be able to address other languages, but it seems to be rolling out mid-May and expect to be completed early June. I don't expect it to be super accurate with New Zealand and Australian accents in this part of the world.
Well, I would say even there's some accents in the US that it might struggle with. But the kind of last thing I'll mention on this is that the Microsoft cares about your privacy statement on here. I think that's good that they're being upfront with, hey, we do not store this data that you're talking. We use it, and then we don't store it. It's sent and used only to provide those results that you're trying to get. Frankly, I'm not sure I would trust some other companies that say something like that. So they may use them for ads, things like that. So it's nice for them to mention, I think.
Very true.
Daryl, let's get to quick mentions, shall we?
Yeah.
So the first quick mention, I'm going to quickly mention it. Thank you. Thank you for all those that just chuckled. Records Management announcing public preview of multi-stage disposition review, MC 254432. And for those of you that are using the disposition review, this is going to, I hope you had the same reaction as I said, whoa, this is awesome, because I don't need to manually create stages, meaning in my process, offline processes, I have to create stages. I can now create them online in the tool, create stages. So I'm going to be able to, this is begin rolling out mid-May, expected by the end of May, so pretty quickly, be able to create retention labels with multi-review and approval stages at the end of the retention period. So you've got content coming to the end of the retention period. What do you do with it? Now you can create multiple stages. So here's one stage. We've got a group of disposition reviewers. They'll be able to view and act on files. And then when that's done, it goes to the next stage. That's awesome, especially for more complex scenarios. Sometimes one stage is fine, but then other times you need multiple stages of review. So loving this. I know it's a quick mention, so I'll stop talking about it, but read more about this if you're doing this, because you're going to be able to do multiple stages and really have more control over that review. All right.
Fantastic. I got this. So this quick mention is in the space of OneDrive. It is about sharing documents. And when you go to share documents, you can use a feature called Quick Permissions. I'm sharing this document. I am putting the name, as Daniel's showing there on the screen, of who I want to share it with. And recently we had seen the sharing permissions of view or edits move up beside the name. So it's really prominent. You can adjust those permissions as you're adding the people to the list of who you want to share it with. MC254893 adds the link settings button. So if this is not enough, if you want to do more than just change it from view and add, and you want to, from the OneDrive perspective, maybe set an expiry link, then hitting that link settings button will bring up the fuller dialog box that we normally see, and you can go to it and set all the usual bits and pieces that you normally would. So this is rolling out to targeted release for the entire org, beginning early May, so nowish, and expect to be completed mid-May, and standard release will set mid-May, and we'll see that finished by late May, unless it's updated.
Nice.
I have to say that these days.
Yes, you do. Next, PowerPoint Live. Present to teams from PowerPoint for Mac. MC 255080. Just wanted to mention this as we talked about this before, but it was all about Windows. Now we've got it for Mac, and this will be rolling out early June, complete the rollout by late June. So if you want to hear our conversations about this functionality specifically, then check out our previous episode where we discussed this, which was, I think it was last week. So episode 193. So check that out if you would like to listen to our comments on that. But so it's coming to Mac. Yay. Cool for those Mac people. One thing I wanted to mention, if you were listening last week and you heard me talk about that the PowerPoint example they were showing was only one slide. It was boring. Well, this update, I think they were listening to me, folks, because they have now, this preview of a PowerPoint has 4 slides, 4 times as many.
Well,
goodness.
This is to a designer audience, you see. So, and they're more about visuals. So,
Daryl, no, it's because they listened to me. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Recommend some stuff for me.
Listen to me now, Daniel.
Yes, please.
Yeah, listen to me now. When we go to office.com, we get this lovely little homepage, and we can see things that we've been working on recently. That list has grown, and it's filterable and searchable, and all that's really great. But along the top, you've got these cards of content that you might be interested in, stuff that you might have been working on, but maybe your team members have been working on, and that is coming to the Office applications on your desktop. So Excel, Word, PowerPoint. When you go to open PowerPoint, for example, and on that page where it's the home page for the app, as they call it, then you'll be able to see not just templates that you can choose from, but things that you might also be interested in to open up and view. So that is MC255074. And it's coming out.
It only recommends content you have permissions to. So let's,
we do have to call that out each time too. Yes.
Right.
So if you are setting those links properly using the other update I was talking about,
yep,
then it will only share it with people that should be able to see it. Timing beginning rolling out early June and completed mid-September. So that's quite a stretch.
It is. It is a bit of a stretch, but it's Office. It's the apps on your, so it's going to roll out through the different release cycles.
Channels.
Yeah, the different channels. It is callback time. We need a button.
Callback.
We need a button that has some awesome
callback.
Okay.
All right.
Microsoft List, the callback. Microsoft List, new integrate drop-down menu powered by SharePoint, MC245847. So this one we talked about, and it's all about changing that menu from going from, and I will pop this out and do that. So before we had the automate menu, and when you went to automate, you could do create a rule, which is a SharePoint functionality only, or go to Power Automate. And then there was a Power Apps menu. Now, let's pull this up. We have two menus, one called Automate and the other one called Integrate. And now Integrate is where you're going to find Power Apps and Power Automate and future Power BI. We talked about that release that should be rolling out very, very soon, having Power BI in here part of the list. Let's take a look, shall we, Daryl?
Sure.
So here's a Microsoft list, and you'll see I've got the new Integrate, and I have Power Apps, so I can create an app from this list. I can customize my forms for this list. I have my Power Automate where I can create my flow. I can create a flow or see all my flows for this list right here in the Integrate menu. And then when I go to Automate, I will see setting a reminder. And this, again, is utilizing, we're looking at setting a reminder based upon a date here for this list. Also, we have create a rule. And this is the SharePoint powered alert settings, really, is what this is powering, the new modern alerting, or manage those rules. So we're separating them out. It actually makes a whole lot of sense to me. I hope it makes sense to you. It did not make sense before to me of having the rule and the automate and then Power Apps was separate. I love this. If I'm going to change things up, I want to go to integrate. And this is an integration with external. Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI in the future. The Power Platform is not part of SharePoint. It's not part of lists. It shouldn't. I feel like calling it out, putting it together is a great idea. There may be people who disagree with me, and it's okay. You can be wrong too. So, and then also in the export, you'll notice we talked about this. The first announcement this week was export. We have export to CSV there as well. Was that too harsh, Daryl, to say?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
It certainly was.
Please forgive me for those I have offended.
Well, we don't want to alienate our audience, and as we're ending the show now, we want to keep them listening, right? So because we do want to keep serving them up the good opinions, good thoughts, the community that gets engaged with us. So do continue to tune in. If you haven't already done so, do subscribe, do like the episode if it has been useful to you, because that does help others find the episode as well. We do, as Daniel said at the top of the show, we have a Twitter handle, it's 365MCS, and we do have some activity going on there and a bit more soon in the future. We're looking forward to doing that. Clubhouse, still plugging away at Clubhouse and trying that out. Apparently that's just become available to Android people today or yesterday. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Thanks to everyone who joined us in the live chat as well. You're always adding value there. Yes. And we'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.